My neighbor helped rescue a hawk that I decided to name Tuah. And if you don't get that reference, please don't Google it. Hi, and welcome to Quilt Meets World, where we have adventures in piecing and joy. I'm Russ. Come on into my sewing room. To make that teaser make a little bit more sense, on Monday evening, I was chatting with Katie after our live on her channel, and I just happened to glance out my window over here, and I ended up saying, I think my neighbor just chased a hawk down his driveway. Obviously, she was confused, and then I just added the fact that he volunteers with Georgia Wildlife Rescue. So it helped make things a little bit more sense, but obviously, it's out of whack. I then had this conversation with him, and it made me giggle. Of course, I had to name the hawk the most inappropriate thing I could. Tua. And like I said earlier, if you don't get that reference, please don't search for it. It is that bad, and I want you to think that I have a little bit of a hint of innocence every now and then. Riley this week was a little excited because she got to play with Lulu at daycare. It was kind of cute. I went to pick up Riley from daycare. I did not know that the neighbor's dog Lulu was there because they don't let me know when Lulu's going to be there so I can make sure Riley can go because that's the only time they get to play. But anyway, while I was waiting for Riley to come out from the back, Lulu comes up to the window and says, "Hi." I guess she, really loves her Uncle Russ because, you know, every time she's there, she comes up and says hi to me. Percy this week, I think, is up to something. If you see the pictures in scenes from the week with him, you'll see a couple pictures where you can definitely say, he's up to something, and it's probably not good for me. The other exciting thing is I made something that I had never made before. Poor man's ice cream. And it was good. I got the idea from a YouTube channel called B. Dylan Hollis. He does all of these like retro, like old recipes. He's even got a book called Baking Yesteryear, where he takes recipes from, back to the Great Depression and even before, a lot of 70s, 80s, and he makes them. And sometimes he's like, oh, this is just completely wrong. And sometimes he's like, this is a masterpiece. And if I remember correctly, he decided that Poor Man's Ice Cream is a masterpiece. Essentially, it's three ingredients: evaporated milk, powdered sugar, and vanilla extract. And it came together very easily. You essentially freeze a glass bowl because you got to keep all the ingredients cold. You're not using an ice cream maker or anything. You also probably want to freeze the beaters in your electric mixer. You want to use an electric mixer. I don't know how you would be able to do this with a hand whisk with as much beating as you have to do with it. And you throw a can of condensed milk in the fridge and let all of that be cooled overnight. So condensed milk in the fridge, everything else in the freezer. When you're ready to make it, and again, this is not one of those you're going to do it instantly. You take everything out. You put the condensed milk in, or not condensed, evaporated. It should be evaporated. If I said condensed earlier, I meant evaporated. Evaporated. You put the can of milk, evaporated milk, in the bowl, and I think it was like a cup and a half of sugar, powdered sugar, and vanilla, and you just turn on your beaters and just beat it, almost like you're trying to make whipped cream. You let it go, get some air in there and everything, and once you got it to a decent consistency, pop everything in the freezer. What I did is I took the beaters, I rinsed them underneath the faucet, and I threw those in the freezer as well because, again, I want to keep everything as cold as possible. And I set a timer for an hour. After that hour timer came up, I went into, pulled everything out. I beat everything again for a few minutes, got all the like little top frozen crusties off. And his video said it was basically done then. And I'm like, it's still too milky while watery and everything. So I sat another about an hour and 15 minutes, and then I repeated it a third time where I beat everything. And at that point, everything seemed to be the consistency of a milkshake. And I was like, ooh, I kind of want to put this in a cup and drink it. But I knew it was going to be better if I just let it freeze for the proper ice cream consistency, because that's what I was going to try to go for. I wanted the ice cream. Next day, because, I was just like, let's put it in the freezer and forget about it at that point. Pulled out the bowl, and it was soft like ice cream. And I'm going to use this phrase a little bit carefully, because when you get ice cream out of the freezer section in the grocery store, it is this nice, perfect consistency. Our home freezers, because they have to do more work, because they have to actually make ice, they have to bring things down to temperature, so they're set to a colder temperature. If you had ice cream sitting in in your own freezer for a few days, it gets to be hard as a rock. This consistency was closer to the consistency that you get fresh from the grocery store. It was just wonderful. It tasted delicious. It was a masterpiece. I put some caramel syrup on it. Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to make it again. And it only costs like a couple bucks. So yeah, I definitely will do this again as the winter or the summer months continue. Um, yeah, highly recommend if you want to make it yourself. Here in the sewing room, there has been a lot of adventure going on. Monday, the Greenland quilter Katie had invited me onto her channel. We sewed and chatted for a couple hours on there, and I managed to get a completed project. I've got this gnome completed. As you know, I am working on all the gnomes. So this makes gnome number 4, I believe it is, that I have completed. So I've got 8 left to do. Math hard sometimes. So I'm very excited that I have that done. Knowing that it takes 2 hours to do a gnome from start to finish for me, and that was just me chit-chatting and stuff. 2.5, not 2. Means I need to just start scheduling just a day that I can go through and work on the gnomes, just so I can get those done. They are supposed to be Christmas gifts, so I've only got a few more months until Christmas. On Tuesday, I did some shopping at one of my local quilt shops. Local's a little loose because it's about a 45-minute drive away. I needed to get some Oops fabric for the Bumbleberry Pie block of the month, just because we're not certain if we are going to have quite enough. I was like, it's on the website and everything, because they had the fabric hiding behind the counter. I was like, it's on the website for me to order, so I could hypothetically just order it online and make you cut it either way. So they're going to do what they want. And, I'm always like, as nice as possible to everybody. So they cut the fabric for me and everything. And I was just walking through the shop and said, what else do I want? What else do I want? Nothing really leapt out at me. I did buy a little bit more, but it just was like, I think it was just mostly because they have so much fabric in their shop that it's a little difficult to, shop for projects. If you're trying to, say, okay, I want to make this quilt and I want this color range or something like that. It's difficult to shop. And if you don't believe me, wait until you see some of the pictures I took during the scenes from the week video. On Wednesday evening on my channel, my friends Stephen and Walter of The Idiot Quilter, Stephanie of Quilting with Stephanie Stitches, and Shannon of Slay Arts and we did our monthly episode of the Social Review over here on my channel. We talked about sewing machines this month, and we did various conversations about what we like about our sewing machines, maybe features that we would like in a future machine, and also a little bit of things that you might want to think about if you are in the market for a new machine. The big interesting thing about that is all of us content creators constantly get asked, what machine do we have, and things like that. So I think that is a good video to kind of push them to, for people to say, what machines do we have? Do we like them? We had a little bit of a range of machines from different manufacturers, so I think it's a good idea if you're interested. And maybe we might do a little bit of a follow-up at a later date to say, these are some other things that we want to talk about now that we've gotten some questions from the audience. On Friday, I had an unboxing video of Fort Worth Fabric Studios' now bi-monthly subscription box. It was a nice box, although there were some of the items that we've received before in other boxes in the past. No reflection on Fort Worth Fabric Studio for that, because they can't control the other subscription boxes we have had in the past. The project looked like it was kind of fun. The fabric, some people love, some people don't, because the fabric line that they chose is a very polarizing line. If you are interested in that video, you can go check it out on my channel. On Saturday, on my 11Z's live, I did week 3 of Fort Worth Fabric Studios As the Crow Flies Sew Along. We put together this very awesome crow block. Doop, 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 doop. There it is. Don't know how the crow is going to be flying this way. But this was a lot of fun to put together. There's a lot of pieces that are smaller than the average piece, but it's no more difficult than a standard block. I guess the more difficult thing is you have to do a lot more planning if you want to chain piece these blocks. They came together, I guess I sewed it in about 45 minutes because I ended the live a little bit early. During the live, though, I did tell my really bad crow joke. I definitely am still giggling about it because it is that bad. I'm not going to repeat it here because this is already going to be a little bit long of a video. But if you are really curious about it, you should go watch yesterday's live and find that portion of the video. I also might have actually posted the joke when I posted my photos of my completed block on the Fort Worth Fabric Studio sewing room Facebook page, so you can go hunt there as well if you're looking for that. Saturday afternoon after the live, I popped over into my friend Stephen of the Idiot Quilter's pop-up sew day. He does those randomly, which is why it's pop-up, and he had his birthday bonanza because today is his birthday. Happy birthday, Stephen! We had a lot of fun enabling each other. Actually, I even got to share my air compressor with somebody else who was interested in buying one of those because, you need to clean your machine sometimes. And then finally, I had to ask myself, why do we do these things to ourselves? Specifically, I have been saying for ages at this point, it seems, that I need to change the blade in my rotary cutter. During my live, I was using a new cutting mat, and it was sitting here on my sewing machine area, and I thought part of the awkwardness was just due to the angles that I was cutting. But then I realized later that my blade has been on the duller side for quite some time, longer than I care to admit. And it's longer than most of us care to admit. During the soda and everything, I finally changed my blade, and everything is cutting through like butter. I don't understand why we wait so long to change our blades when it's a simple task. It's a couple dollars in, the grand scheme of the world, and it takes so much effort out of our hands as we no longer have to press as hard to make sure we are cutting through. So this is your reminder, because I know we've all forgotten. Change your needle and change your rotary blade on a regular basis. If you can't remember the last time you've changed either, you might as well change them now. It's Saturday sampler week this week, so I need to get my show and tell figured out. I really want to bring in the pinwheel quilt and bag from Stephanie and Shannon's retreat last month, but that means I need to get the quilt quilted and bound. I have the backing ready. I would show you a sneak peek at it, but then everybody's gonna be like, "Oh, that is so awesome!" and I'd rather it be done all in one time. I also need to figure out what quilting pattern I'm going to do. I'm going to try to get that done during the evenings this week. Hopefully, work is slightly less stressful, although realizing we're also in the middle of going live, probably gonna have to be doing all of my data checks again this week. So we will see what happens. Also, this Saturday is going to be week 4 of the Fort Worth Fabric Studio As the Crow Flies Quilt Along. According to the fabric chart by week, it looks like this week is going to be where we're going to use the panel piece that we have. So I'm kind of excited to see what we will be making and how that's going to be featured. My guess is because it's a single panel instead of using all 4, that might be the center of the quilt, but we will see what happens. Anywho, I think that's going to be probably about it for today. This has been another kind of on the longer side video, but the poor man's ice cream story, totally worth talking about, and you should make. I'm going to make sure that I get a link to that in the description below. I hope you were entertained by everything and the weekly shenanigans. If you wouldn't mind to do the things for YouTube that YouTube likes, that would be awesome. Liking, subscribing. We were talking yesterday in my live that YouTube likes to randomly unsubscribe people. So if you're not certain that you're subscribed, make sure you check below and make sure you're subscribed if you want to hear about my shenanigans. If you hit the little bell icon next to the subscribe button, you will be notified weekly when I go live, and you'll also be notified any other videos that I upload throughout the week. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and an awesome week. Until next time, stay happy and keep stitching.